Hello and welcome to this short movie on using the Dictionary of Old English. Today we're going to look up some words in Beowulf to demonstrate how to use the Dictionary of Old English effectively. So I've got the opening of Beowulf pulled up. Now I'll go to the Dictionary of Old English. This is a subscriber service only, so you need to be in Blackboard and go to USF Libraries to access it, or be on campus using a campus computer. You can look it up by title, Dictionary of Old English. Note that the first one you find is an old microform. Ignore that one. Go straight to the online version. Here you have the home page for the dictionary. Everything you need. One of the first things you'll probably need is the font. Go to Help, Troubleshooting. This happens to most people. Your computer does not usually have the font that you need, so the best thing to do is to go straight here and download the font. You may have to talk with IT about how to install the font on your computer. Different computers vary, but this is where to get the font. It's actually fairly easy to install on Macs. I hope it will be on Windows. Once you have the font, you may need to restart your browser in order to get it to display. But then you're ready to go to the dictionary. I like to open it in a separate window so that I can open the different letters in separate tabs and keep them all up at once. You'll find once you've opened the letter that you have no easy way of getting back to the home page, which is one of the few disadvantages of the online version. This is the best dictionary for A to G and contains all attested spellings in virtually all the extant Old English we have. So the Dictionary of Old English is what you want to look up an Old English word. We'll also see that it links directly to the Oxford English Dictionary. Now, how to use the DOE to look up words. Let's go back to our Beowulf text. I've highlighted some words we might want to look up. In the first line, we have this interesting word, Yardagum. Seems vaguely familiar, looks kind of like year days. Let's see if we can find that. Starts with a G, so I'm going to open a G tab. Sometimes you can do a find on page, but often it won't get you very far. What turns out to happen most of the time is there's a long mark that interferes with doing a find on page, but you can always try it. Now we don't see Yardagum because that is a dative form, but we do see Yardagas. Knowing that's close enough, we click, and there we have it. Attested spellings, Yardagas, Yardagum, Yardagan. That's in a specific text, the Menologium. Occurs 24 times, mainly in poetry. And here's our definition. Days of one's life, lifetime. Whoa, that doesn't sound right. Listen, we Speardanes in Days of Our Lives sounds too much like a soap. Let's go back and look again. Aha! The second definition. Days of old, former times, in on Yardagum. There we go. In days of old, in days of yore, in former times, long ago. And indeed, there we have it, quoted directly from Beowulf, line 1. We Gardena in Yardagum, and they finish the sentence for you to give you a sense of context. So that's what we've got. Days of old, former times. Down at the bottom, they give you some cross-references to Yar and Day. You can click them and see Yar is in fact year, and Day is in fact day. So if you thought it looked like year day, you are correct. Let's see what else we can find. Here's a fun word, Athlingas. What does that mean? We go back to our dictionary. If you open A, you may get a bit of a surprise. A B, A C, A D, A E, A F. Remember, in Old English, the ash is a separate letter. So AE tied together like that, called an ASH or an AE ligature, must be looked up separately. And here we have it. So now we can look up Aethlingus. So we go down our list. Notice the order of letters. It generally follows English, modern English alphabetical order, but ash T will come before ash thorn in this dictionary. Not all dictionaries use the same order. And there's Aethling. Remember, when we look at the word Aethlingus, we've got that AS accusative masculine ending. And head words are generally nominative. Yardagas was in the plural, but it was nominative. So we click Aethling, and we find it means prince, lord, prince, ruler. Or, mainly in plural, and we have a plural here, men of birth and valor, heroes, princes, the nobility. And right there, Beowulf line 1. Hu the Aethlingas Ellen Fremedon. So we have our word. If we want to look for cross-references, we can see, look, we have cross-references. This will open in a new tab, and it takes us to Aethling in the Oxford English Dictionary, where we can find the etymology from Old English Aethling, and it means a member of a noble family, a prince, lord, baron. This is not used a lot anymore. You can see the last citations are in the 19th century, but we do have it, and it's a word you may run across. So our cross-reference is quite nice there. They hope eventually to have a cross-reference to the Middle English Dictionary, but it isn't connected yet. So we've looked up 2 of our words. Here's another fun one, Verschaft. What does that mean? We open our F tab, start looking. Verschaft. For once we found it in the same form. Forlorn, wretched, destitute. That's an adjective. Also, as a substantive, the destitute one. So it can be used both ways. A substantive, by the way, is a fancy word for using an adjective as a noun. So some words can be adjectives but be used as nouns in Old English. So destitute or the destitute one. Shield was originally found destitute. Very interesting. Here's a word everyone loves or hates, Eichwilch. Let's look at what that means. We've already got our ASH tab open. Go to ASH G, H-W-I-L-C. We have a Y here, but remember, Y's and I's are often interchangeable in Old English. So we click on Eichwilch, and we find lots of spellings, including many spellings that include the Y. So adjective, each, every, preceding a singular noun, each, every, and so on. Here, it's actually preceding a plural noun, Eichwilch, each of the neighboring peoples. Funny looking word, isn't it? Eichwilch. Let's see if it has any cross-references. Well, look at that. It becomes our modern each. And here we are back at the Oxford English Dictionary. The historical forms inseparable from this word represent 3 distinct but nearly synonymous words in Old English. Elch, Eilich, Eichwilch, and here's our word, Eichwilch. All right. So we can see how these words become modern English words. And one last word. Sometimes words are hard to look up. These have actually been fairly easy. Gomban will prove harder. We go to our G tab. G-O-M. Here we've got G-O, G-O-L, G-O-M-A, G-O-M-O. No Gomban. Uh-oh, now what do we do? Now we go to search by field. We know this is an attested spelling. We're looking right at it in Beowulf. So you can use attested spelling, variant spelling no vowel position. We can try attested spelling because we're absolutely certain this is an attested spelling. We could try the other options if we wanted to be sure it wasn't some weird editorial variant. Well, this looks weird, but it's definitely the same word. So we click to see, and we discover this occurs only 2 times. It is spelled Gomban in Beowulf and Gombon in Genesis. So they're not really sure how the word was originally spelled. There's a question mark just as we might have an asterisk before the form because it's not attested, but it means tribute. So there we've looked up all our words from Beowulf. The dictionary is actually a lot more powerful than just looking up words. There are other fun things you can do, and I'll show you just briefly a couple of other possibilities with the search. You can look up headwords, of course, attested spellings, various variants. If you want to look up all the, say, nouns of a certain kind, you can add fields. But for our purposes, let's try looking up a headword suffix. You may have noticed that some of the suffixes you see on Old English words look kind of familiar. Dom is one of them. Abbotdom, archbishopdom, and so on. You can actually look up the suffix itself and discover it's a masculine suffix forming abstract nouns, and get a list of the words that they have found that have this suffix, including the ones not yet in the dictionary. All the ones after G are already listed. And you see that it is the same as the modern English dom, abstract suffix of state, which has grown out of an independent noun, originally putting, setting, position, statute. If you want to look that up, you can look that up too. In Old English, it originally meant judgment, systematic justice, jurisdiction, God's judgment, and so on. So you can find out a lot about words using the DOE. One more fun thing to try with the search. If you know Latin, you can look up Latin words and see if they have Old English equivalents. When I was working on one of my first articles as a graduate student, and it was also a chapter in my dissertation, I looked up the word virtus. At this point, we just had microfiches, so believe me, you have it easy. Submit query. Anwald, Erasmus, both translate virtus. This is very interesting, because what I demonstrated in my article and in my dissertation was that the Latin word virtus is sometimes translated by the Old English word kraft, but only by a particular author. Everyone else uses another Old English word to translate virtus. And kraft, when it appears for a Latin word, usually appears for ars. So you see the various definitions here. This dictionary is a very powerful research tool. It can also be very helpful to students, especially if you're learning Old English, but also simply to students of the language. I hope you've enjoyed this little movie. The DOE has only gotten as far as G at this point, but it is moving ahead, and it is a wonderful resource that will only continue to improve. Thank you for watching.